Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I hope you are fine and enjoying with good health and must be busy with your work. In the last lecture, we discussed and we solved some important problems related to linear programming, and now we have practiced so much questions in the last 3 to 4 lectures about that linear programming method, that is the graphical method of solving the linear programming problems. And you must be well aware of the different steps, that how we can use that graphical method to find out the optimal solution in the different scenarios. Especially you must be well aware of the different objective functions, that how we can maximize the profit and how we can minimize the profit. Whenever you are given a particular situation, you'll have to properly analyze it. You'll have to identify the different decision variables, and then you'll have to convert these statements or the scenario in the form of equations. First of all, you'll have to find out the equation related to your objective function, and then you'll have to find out the different constraints and the limitations, and then convert those constraints into the different inequalities, and then we convert these inequalities in the form of equations by plotting all of these equations on a particular graph. And you must also know that how we can solve the different equations simultaneously to find out the points of intersection between the two lines. And finally, we have already discussed the two different methods of finding out the optimal point, that is iso-profit line method or iso-cost line method, and the other important method like corner point method. So these methods help us to identify the optimal point on that particular graph, and we are able to find out the feasible region. And then by taking the different optimal points, and after calculating the different coordinates, finally we can formulate a sort of table which have the different alternatives, from which we are able to find out the best alternative. So this is again the strength of this linear programming method. In certain situations, students, there are some problems in which we may have more than 2 decision variables, or in certain cases we may have more and more equations and the inequalities. In such cases, sometimes it is difficult to use that graphical method, and we'll have to sometime go towards another method which is usually referred as simplex method. So in our today's lecture, I will tell you about the different steps, not actually in a formal way, but directly by solving a similar problem by this method, that is the simplex method. We will discuss that what are the different steps involved in this particular method, and then in the next class we will formally discuss these steps. But I will like to just start right from a problem, and then from while solving this problem I will tell you the different steps, and you'll have to note down these steps because these steps are so important. And right from the first lecture, I usually talk about that iteration and that algorithm method, which involves the step-by-step approach of solving the problems. So today, after going through that simplex method, you will be well aware of that what is this method about, and what are the different steps, and what is actually the iteration. So let's start directly from a very simple and similar problem which we have already solved by that graphical method, but today we will use a different method, that is the simplex method. Now class, let's we have a objective function as f is equal to 5x1 plus 4x2. So this is our objective function, and suppose we are interested in maximizing this objective function. So we are interested in maximization. So let's suppose this is the objective function actually, and we want to maximize our profit through this objective function. Then again, this objective function is subject to the different constraints. Now suppose these constraints are 5x1 plus 3x2 less than equal to 21. Now suppose class this is our first constraint. There is another constraint which is x1 plus 2x2 is less than equal to 7. So these are actually two constraints. And we'll have to maximize our objective function by fulfilling all of these two constraints. There is another constraint which is usually referred as non-negative constraints, and we have already discussed non-negative constraint in linear programming in that graphical method. x1, x2 is greater than 0. So these are the non-negative constraints. So class, this is our problem, and now we want to solve this problem by a simplex method. Before starting solving the problem, I would like to tell you about that how we can convert these inequalities into the equalities in that particular method, that is the simplex method. There are the three types of variables which we introduce in this particular method. One is known as the slack variable. The other variable is known as surplus variable. And the third variable is sometimes known as artificial variable. Now let me briefly tell you what these all the variables are about. Now suppose you have a sort of inequality like, I am hypothetically taking any example by taking that particular inequality. If you have this form of inequality, that is 3x1 plus 2x2 less than equal to 3. Now if we have that particular form, that is less than equal to form, in that particular case we'll have to introduce slack variables. Slack variable, which is usually referred as S. It is represented by an alphabet S. So if we want to convert this particular inequality into the equation, then we can rewrite this equation as 3x1 plus 2x2 plus S1 is equal to 3. So slack variables are always added on the left hand side of that inequality. So all the slack variables are always added. We'll have to add this slack variable, which is represented by S1, on that left hand side of inequality, so that we can convert it into the equation form. Now concept of slack variable is like that it is any small quantity which is being added on that left hand side of the inequality, so that the both of these sides of that inequality becomes equal. So that is a method which is generally used in simplex method of solving the linear programming problems. So that is what about the slack variable. So usually, but it is should be remembered that we will only add the slack variables in case of less than equal to forms. So this is very important point, students. Similarly, if we have a sort of inequality in that particular form, that is 5x1 plus 3x2. Again, I am taking any hypothetical example in order to let you tell about these particular variables. So if this particular equation is in the form of that greater than or equal to some value, then in this particular case we will add the surplus variables. We will add surplus variables, and in this particular case we will actually subtract these surplus variables. That is, we'll have to subtract this particular variable from this particular equation. So surplus variables are always subtracted. So class, we have just discussed about two important concepts. One is about the slack variables, the other one is the surplus variables. Now if we have the inequality in the form of that less than equal to form, we will add the surplus variable in every kind of similar sort of inequality, and if we have the inequality in the form of that greater than equal to form, then we will subtract the surplus variable from that particular inequality. There is another variable sometimes used which is known as artificial variable, and generally we use these sort of variables if the equation is already in the equation form, that is equal to 3. In this particular case, sometimes we use an artificial variables, that is 5x1 plus 3x2, and that artificial variable is sometimes represented by a1 in this particular case, and artificial variables are always added. Artificial variables are always added, but we will not discuss this artificial variable in our today's example. So just remember about the two concepts, that is the slack variable and the surplus variable. So this is I told you about the slack variable and the surplus variable because we will have to use these variables in order to solve our today's problem. So let's again come to our equation. Our basic function was f is equal to 5x1. I am rewriting that function for your convenience, plus 4x2. This was our objective function. Then our first inequality was 5x1 plus 3x2 is less than equal to 21. Then our second inequality was x1 plus 2x2 is less than equal to 7, and again x1 x2 are the non-negative constants. Now suppose we suppose that let s1 and s2 be two slack variables for first and second constant respectively. So if we use these slack variables in our inequalities will be converted into the equalities, that is 5x1 plus 3x2 plus s1 is equal to 21, and the next one is x1 plus 2x2 plus s2 is equal to 7. Now class, we have just introduced that s1 and s2 as the slack variables for the first constraint and the second constraint, and therefore we have converted those inequalities into the equalities. And again now our variables are x1, x2 S1, S2, and all of these variables are less than or greater than 0. Again, the non-negativity constraints. Initially, we were having the two variables x1 and x2, but after introducing the two slack variables for the two inequalities, now we have four variables, that is x1, x2, s1 and s2. So this is the first step we just used in simplex method. Now in the next important step, which may be referred as the initial solution, what we will do, we will put any of these two variables equal to 0. Now suppose that let x1 is equal to 0 and x2 is equal to 0. Again, why we are putting that x1 and x2 is equal to 0? This is a step which is being defined in this particular method, and sometimes we follow a rule, that is we find out the total number of variables and we subtract the total number of equations. Then what number we will get, we will put those numbers for our decision variables equal to 0. That is, in this particular case class, we have four variables, that is x1, x2, s1 and s2, that is the number 4. And we have two equations, two main equations, that is the first equation, first constraint equation, which has now been converted into the equation form, and the second constraint equation. So 4 minus 2, 4 means total number of variables, x1, x2, s1, s2, minus number of equations, that is the two basic constraint equations, this is equal to 2. Now this number 2 is actually showing us that we will have to put two variables equal to 0 in the above equations. So if we are putting this x1 is equal to 0 and x2 is equal to 0 in these two equations, then we will get the value of s1 equal to 21, and we will get the value of s2 equal to 7. That is, by putting the values of x1 is equal to 0 and x2 is equal to 0 in both of these equations, we will get the value of s1 is equal to 21 and s2 is equal to 7. So in this way we are being able to find out the values of those slack variables s1 and s2 at a very initial step of solving the problem with respect to the technique, that is the simplex technique. Okay class, now I will rewrite these equations again for your convenience. That is, now we have the two equations, that is 5x1 plus 3x2 plus s1 is equal to 21. This is our first equation. Then x1 plus 2x2 plus s2 is equal to 7. This is our second equation. Now class, we have our objective function as f is equal to 5x1 plus 4x2. We will again rewrite this objective function in the homogeneous form, in the form in which these two equations have already been written. It means that we will put that x1 and x2, or we will move these values of x1 and x2 to the left hand side of this equation, so we can get the constant value on the right hand side. So we can rewrite this function as f minus 5x1 minus 4x2 is equal to 0. Now why we are doing that? Because we want to convert all of these three equations in some homogeneous form. Homogeneous means on the right hand side we have the constant values for all of these three equations. So class, these are the very basic steps. Now as a very first, now we will formulate some initial tableau. We will make a table which is usually referred as initial tableau. Okay class, please note down that what steps we will follow for making this initial tableau. These steps are so important. Now class, in this particular table, the first column is known as basic variables. This column is actually referred to as basic variables. Now what are the basic variables? Basic variables are all those variables whose value we didn't put equal to 0 when we were solving that equations for finding out the values of S1 and S2. In that particular solution, we put the values of x1 and x2 is equal to 0. So x1 and x2 are not our basic variables, but our basic variables in this particular case will be s1 and s2. So once again I repeat that all those variables whose values are not put equal to 0 when we were solving those equations for calculating the values of slack variables, all those variables will be referred to as s1 and s2. We were initially having 4 variables, that is x1, x2, s1 and s2. We put the value of x1 and x2 is equal to 0. Other than that, x1 and x2, s1 and s2 will be referred to as our basic variables. Now all the other variables we will put in this particular row of the table, that is x1 variable, x2, then s1 and then s2. And again in the last row, this is referred, or this is reserved for that our objective function, that is represented by f. Now class will have to fill this table. Now please note down that how we will fill this table. We have 3 equations, that is 5x1. The first equation is 5x1 plus 3x2 plus s1 is equal to 21. Now we will put the coefficient of these equations one by one in this particular table. Now class, here is the x1, and in the very first equation the coefficient of x1 is equal to 5. So we will put or write 5 here. Then in this particular column the value of x2 will be 3. Now what is this 3? This is the coefficient of the variable x2 in the first equation. Then the coefficient of s1 in the first equation is equal to 1, and we do not have any s2 in the first equation, so we will put this s2 is equal to 0. Then again there is some right hand side, and we will name this column as right hand side. And in the very first equation, the right hand side of this first equation is 21. So we will write 21 here. Again class, we have just put down the different coefficients of the first equation in this table according to the variables marked in this particular row. Now again, let's discuss, or let's take the second equation. The coefficients of the second equation will be 1, 2, s1 is equal to 0 because there is no s1 in the second equation, and again the s2 coefficient is 1, and again the right hand side of second equation is 7. Now this is the objective function. Again in the similar fashion we will fill the values of this objective function. Here the coefficient of objective function for the variable x1 is -5, so we will put -5 here. The coefficient of x2 in this objective function is -4, so we will put -4 here. And again there is no s1 and s2 in the objective function, so we will put here 0. S2 is also equal to 0, and the right hand side is also equal to 0 in the third equation, which is actually our objective function equation. So class, now it should be clear that how we are going to fulfill or fill that particular table, and this table is usually known as initial tableau. Now we will have to find out that whether this table is giving us the optimal solution or not. We'll have to find out that is it the been able to give us the optimal solution. Now what is the criteria to find out that optimal solution, or we will find out that whether it will be able to give us some optimum solution or not. We will have to refer the coefficient values of this objective function, because we are interested in the maximization function. For the optimum condition, the coefficients of these objective functions must be non-negative, that is, they should be positive. So if all the coefficients in this objective function are positive, then it shows that this table can give us the optimum solution. But in this particular case, there are the two negative coefficients, that is -5 and -4. So it means that this solution is not optimal, and we'll have to go to the next step. Before going to the next step, we'll have to point out the certain values here. Now class, we have find out that this is not giving us the optimal solution. In the next step, we will find out the minimum value of that objective function, that is the minimum value of the coefficient in this objective function. The minimum value in this objective function constant is equal to -5. So what we will do, we will mark this particular column, and this particular column is usually referred as pivot table, pivot column. So again, I am repeating that how we are able to find out this pivot column. First of all, we will see whether this solution is optimal or not. If all the coefficient values in the objective function are positive, it will give us the optimum solution. But in this particular scenario, there are two negative values, -4, -5. So it means that this table is not giving us the optimal solution. In the next step, we will find out the minimum coefficient value of that objective function f. In this particular case, the minimum objective value of objective function is -5. So we will mark that particular column as the pivot column. This particular column is known as pivot column. In the next step, class, what we will do, we will make another column which is referred as ratio column. Now this is the ratio column. Now in this particular ratio column, what we will do, we will divide this right hand side by the coefficient which is being marked as a pivot column. So in this particular case, what we will do, we will divide 21 by 5, and the value we will get as 4.2. So this is the particular value for in this particular row. Similarly, we will divide this particular value of right hand side by the corresponding value in the pivot column, that is 1, that is 7 divided by 1, and we will get this value as 7. So class, in the ratio table, what we will do, we will divide the right hand side value to the corresponding value which is being marked in the pivot column, that is 21 by 5 equal to 4.2, and then 7 divided by 1, which is equal to 7. Now in this particular case, in this ratio column, we will find out the minimum value. Now 4.2 is the minimum value, out of that 4.2 and 7. So this minimum value row will be referred to as pivot row. So we can refer this particular row as pivot row. So how we are able to identify this pivot row? In the ratio column, we will find out the minimum value, and that the row against that minimum value will be known as the pivot row. There is another number which we'll have to identify, that is the pivot number. Now pivot number is the number which is lying at the intersection of both of the pivot column and the pivot row, and this 5 is that number. This 5 is the number which is actually the intersection of both of the pivot column and pivot row. So in this particular case, our pivot number will be is equal to 5. So class, up till now we are able to identify the pivot column, then the pivot row, and then the pivot number. Now this is very important, and we will discuss again and again this pivot column, pivot row, and pivot number when we are going to formulate the similar sort of tables in the next steps. So it is very important that you should have to know about the different steps, that how we identify the pivot column, pivot row, and pivot number. There is another very important thing which you should have note down at this particular stage, that is the leaving variable and the entering variable. Now what are the leaving variables and the entering variables, class? Again, this is our pivot column, and the corresponding value of the variable, which are actually the non-basic variables, class. These are the basic variables, and the variables in that row are the non-basic variables, that is x1, x2, s1 and s2 are the non-basic variables. So in that pivot column, the corresponding value of the corresponding variable will be referred to as entering variable. Now this is entering variable. And in this pivot row, the corresponding basic variable, that is s1, is referred as leaving variable. Now what is meant by entering variable and the leaving variable? In the next step, we will have to again formulate this table, rewrite this table, and in that particular table what we will do, we will replace this s1 by x1. We will remove the s1 from this particular position, and we will place x1 in this particular space, and that's why x1 in this particular case is usually referred as entering variable, and s1 in this particular case will be referred as leaving variable. So again, class, this is our initial tableau. We have identified the pivot column, we have identified the pivot row, we have find out that what is the pivot number, we have identified the entering variable and leaving variable. Now we will move to the next step, a very important step again. Now class, we will do some calculations in the next step. The first calculation is about the new pivot row. New pivot row. This will be the row which will replace the old pivot row in our previous table. So what will be the formula for calculating this new pivot row? It will be equal to 1 over pivot number multiply by old pivot row. Old pivot row. So class, we have already computed our pivot number, and our pivot number in this particular case is 5, and our old pivot row is, I'm rewriting that particular row here, 5, 3, 1, 0, 21. So this is our old pivot row. Now what we will do, we will divide each value of this old pivot row by the pivot number. So we will get the new pivot row. 5 divided by 5, that is equal to 1. Then 3 divided by 5, this will be equal to 3 by 5. Then 1 divided by 5, this will be equal to 1 by 5. 0 divided by 5, this will be equal to 0. 21 by divided by 5, that will be equal to 21 by 5. So class, this is our new pivot row, and when we will formulate the next table, we will replace this new pivot row with the old pivot row in that new table. There are some other calculations, and let me write the formula for the other rows. new row is equal to old row minus pivot column coefficient multiplied by new pivot row. Now class, if we go to the previous slide, we have a pivot row and the two non-pivot row. This is the non-pivot row, and this is again related to the objective function. This is the non-pivot row. In the next step, we'll have to find out the values for replacing this non-pivot row. So we will find the new rows for S2 and F5 by using this particular formula we have just written. So our new S2 row, we'll have to replace our S2 row, new S2 row will be equal to the old S2 row. Now what is the old S2 row? That is 1, 2, 0, 1 and 7. This is our old S2 row minus class pivot column coefficient. This is the respective pivot column coefficient. If we go to the previous slide, we are making or formulating the new row for S2, and its corresponding pivot column value is 1. So in this particular formula, we will put that pivot column coefficient value equal to 1. So this value will be equal to 1, and then again new pivot row, that is the new pivot row we have just computed, that is 1, 3 by 5, 1 by 5, 0, 21 by 5. So class, we will solve this particular equation to find out the new S1 row, that is, so class, we will solve this particular equation to find out the new S1 row. Now that is 1 minus 1. The first value will be equal to 0. The next value will be equal to 2 minus 3 by 5. Now 2 minus 3 by 5, 2 minus 3 by 5, you can do some rough work here. 2 minus 3.5, that will be equal to 10 minus 3 by 5, and this will be equal to 7 by 5. So this is our second value, that is 7 by 5. The third value will be equal to 0 minus 1 by 5. So our third value will be minus 1 by 5. Fourth value will be equal to 1 minus 1 multiplied by 0. So this will be equal to 1. And last value will be equal to 7 minus 21 by 5. So again you can do some rough work, that is 7 minus 21 by 5. We can take 5 as LCM, 5 7 the 35 minus 21, this will be equal to 14 by 5. So this particular value will be equal to 14 by 5. So class, in this way we have computed that new S1 row. Now again, if we make the new table, we will replace this new S1 row by the old S1 row. One row we'll have to compute it more, that is about the objective function row. So new F row, that is our objective function row, will be equal to, again we will use the same formula, that is the old F row. Now what is the old F row? That is minus 5, minus 4, 0, 0, 0. This is our old F row. In our initial W, you must remember that, minus the corresponding pivot column coefficient. Now in this particular case, the corresponding pivot column coefficient is minus 5. Now again, if we go to the initial table, this is our objective function, and the corresponding pivot column coefficient here is -5. So that's why we are taking this value as -5. And again our new pivot row, which we have just computed, that is 1, 3 by 5, 1 by 5, 0 and 21 by 5. So again we will solve this equation, that is -5 plus 5, this will be equal to 0, -4 and minus this will become +5, so -4 plus 5. Our second value will be -4 plus 5 multiplied by 3 by 5, 3 by 5. So this 5 will be cancelled and -4 plus 3 will be equal to -1. In this particular case our second value will be equal to -1. Similarly the third value, that will be equal to 0 plus 1 by 5, it will become 1. Fourth value will become 0 minus 0, this will become 0, and the last value will be equal to 0, and again this is 0, minus will become +5, and the corresponding value for multiplication is 21 by 5. This 5 will be cancelled and we got it as 21. So class, this is our new F row. Now in the next step we will, why we computed all these values, because we will have to develop another table as the next step. Now suppose we draw the similar table again. Again this column is for basic variables. Here the values of variables or the decision variables will remain same, that is x1, x2. Here the values of the variables will remain same, that is x1, x2, s1, s2. Then again we have another column for right hand side, and finally the column for that ratio values, and again in the end we will have that objective function. Now class, first of all we will have to count the entering variable and the leaving variable. Let's go to the previous table. In this table we have identified the two variables, that is the entering variable and leaving variable. I told you that this, in the next coming table, this value of s1 will be replaced by x1, because x1 is identified as the entering variable. So in this new table we will replace this value of s1 by x1. So we will replace this value by x1. The next of the variables will remain same, that is x1, s2 and f. So this is how we will replace the entering variable and leaving variable, which have previously identified in our last initial tableau. Now again class, we first of all we will put that new pivot row which we have already computed in place of that old pivot row. Now again, if we refer to the previous table, this is the position for our old pivot row. So this is the old pivot row which will be replaced in the incoming table. We have already computed the values of new pivot row. So I will write down this new pivot row here, that is 1, 3 by 5, 1 by 5, 0, 21 by 5. So this is our new pivot row which is being replaced by the old pivot row. We have already find out the new S2 row, so we will write down the values of the new S2 row here. The values of new S2 row are 0, 7 by 5, minus 1 by 5, 1 and 14 by 5. Again, we have already find out the new F row. We will replace these values of new F row here, that is 0, minus 1, 1, 0 and 21. Now class, again we have filled that particular table, and again we will have to find out first that is it the optimal solution or not. Is it optimal or not? Again we will refer to the different coefficient values of that objective function. Again there is a negative value, so it means that it will not give us the optimal solution. We have defined out the condition for optimality in that maximization case, that all the coefficients of objective functions must be positive. But in this case there is a negative value, that is -1, so this particular table will not give us the optimal solution, and we have to formulate another table. As a next step, we'll have to find out again the pivot column. Now again we will find out the minimum value out of this objective function. -1 is the minimum value, so it will be referred to as our new pivot column. This is the new pivot column. Again, how we will calculate the ratio as the next step? We will divide these values by this corresponding pivot column values, that is 21 by 5 divided by 3 by 5. When we will divide it by 3 by 5, the 5 will come in numerator, and 3 will come in denominator. 5 will be cancelled, and we will get the value equal to 7. Similarly, we will divide this 14 by 5 by 7 by 5, and again when we divide it, the value of 5 will come in numerator, that is the simple mathematic. This will become 5 divided by 7, and again the 5 will be cancelled, 7 to the 14, so we will get this value as 2. So class, again we have computed the ratio values for this particular table. As the next step, we'll have to identify the pivot row. And what is the pivot row? We'll have to find out the minimum value out of that ratio value. And another point, students, to be noted here, that if we got any negative value or any infinite value in this particular ratio column, we will just ignore those values, that is negative values and infinite values. We will just take into account the positive values. In this particular case, all the two values are positive, so we will take the minimum value. The minimum value is 2. So again, the row against that minimum value will be our new pivot row. This is our new pivot row, and again the point, okay, let me write down here that this value is our new pivot row for this particular table. And again the point which is the intersection of the pivot row and pivot column, that is again is the pivot number. After identified again the pivot number, pivot column and pivot row, we'll have to identify the entering variable and leaving variable. Now let's see that pivot column, the value of x2 is against that pivot column. So the value of x2 in this particular case will be taken as entering variable. The variable x, actually the entering variable, and the variable, that is the basic variable s2 against that pivot row, this will be taken as our leaving variable. So again class, what is meant by entering variable and the leaving variable? When we will formulate the next table, we will replace this leaving variable by this entering variable. So this is particularly meant by the entering variable and leaving variable. So again class, will have to make this loop, and now this is the point at which you are going to well understand that what is looping and what is iteration. That is the step-by-step procedure. We'll have to go through these steps again and again until we achieve some optimal solution. Now again class, we'll have to again find out first the new pivot row, and we will use the same formula, that is new pivot row will be equal to 1 over pivot number in the new table. Now the pivot number in the new table is equal to 7 by 5 and our old pivot row, that is 0. 7 by 5 minus 1 by 5, 1 and 14 by 5. So class, 1 over 7 by 5, it will become 5 by 7. Now we will again multiply this particular constant 5 by 7 by each of these value of the old pivot row, and we will get the values of new pivot row as equal to 0. 5 by 7 multiplied by 7 by 5, this will be equal to 1. 5 by 7 multiplied by minus 1 by 5, this will be equal to minus 1 by, this will be equal to minus 1 by 7. Similarly 5 by 7, and this will be equal to 2. So this is our new pivot row, that is 0, 1, minus 1 by 7, 5 by 7 and 2. We will again find the new rows other than the pivot row, that is we'll have to find out the new x1 row. New x1 row. Okay class, again if we refer to the previous table, this is our pivot row. We have computed the new pivot row to replace this particular old pivot row. Now further we'll have to find out the two rows, that is the non-pivot rows, that is x1 row and f row. So that's why we will compute the value of new x1 row. This will be equal to old x1 row, that is 1, 3 by 5, 1 by 5, 0, 21 by 5 minus corresponding pivot column coefficient, which is equal to 3.5 in this particular case, and then new pivot row which we have just computed, that is 0, 1, minus 1 by 7, 5 by 7 and 2. Again we will compute the values. These will become 1 minus 0, this will become 1, 3 minus 5 minus 3 by 5, this will become 0, 1 by 5 minus minus will be plus, 1 by 5 plus 3 by 35, 1 by 5 plus 3 by 35. So let's solve this value. 1 by 5 plus 3 by 35, this will become 7 plus 3 equal to 10. This will become 35. Now 5 7 the 35 plus 3, this will be equal to 10 divided by 35, and again it will become as 2 by 7. So that is third value is 2 by 7. The next 0 minus 3 by 7, that will be equal to minus 3 by 7. Then 21 by 5 and minus 6 by 5. If we multiply 2 by minus 3 by 5, this will be equal to 21 by 5 and minus 6 by 5. This will be equal to 15 by 5 and it will finally become 3. So 3 is here. So we have computed that new x1 row. Next one is the new f row. Now again we will use the same formula, that is old f row in the previous table, that is 0, minus 1, 1, 0, 21 minus corresponding pivot column coefficient in the previous table. If we go to the previous table, then the corresponding pivot column coefficient for this particular value of f will be equal to minus 1. So that's why we will put minus 1 here, and the new pivot row, again the new pivot row is 0, 1, minus 1 by 7, 5 by 7 and 2. So again we will solve this particular equation. 0 minus 0, it will become 0, then minus 1 and minus minus plus 1, it will become again 0, then 1 minus minus plus again minus 1 plus 1 by 7, that will be equal 1 minus 1 by 7, sorry, minus minus plus, then again it will become minus, so 1 minus 1 by 7, that will be equal to 6 by 7, then 0 plus 5 by 7, this will be equal to 5 by 7, then again 21 minus minus plus will become, it will become plus, 21 plus 2, that will become 23. So this is class our new F row. So we have computed the pivot row and the two other rows other than that pivot row by using the particular formula, and now we are able to again formulate the table. Now class, again we will formulate the table. Now again these are the basic variables, x1, x2, these are the known basic variables. The basic variable column is this one, and this one the known basic variables, that is s1, s2, then again the right hand side, and again the ratio. Now again class, first of all we will have to incorporate the entering variable and leaving variable. In the previous table we have identified that x2 is our entering variable and s2 is our leaving variable, so we will replace s2 by x2 in that basic column. So this column will become as x1 and x2, and here is our again objective function. Now again, first of all we will put our new pivot row in replace of that old pivot row. If you refer again to the previous table, this one is our old pivot row, so we will place the new pivot row at this particular position. So this will be our new pivot row, that is 0, 1, minus 1 by 7, 5 by 7, and 2. So class, this is our new pivot table. Similarly, we have computed the new x1 row and new f row. We will replace these new x1 row and new f1 row at this particular table. So x1 row, that is the new x1 row, that is 1, 0, 2 by 7, minus 3 by 7, and the right hand side is equal to 3. Similarly, new f row is 0, 0, 6 by 7, 5 by 7, and the right hand side is equal to 23. Now class, again we'll have to check whether it is the optimal table or solution or not. Again I am repeating the condition of optimality, that for the condition of optimality the values of all the coefficients of objective function in these types of table must be positive. So if we see the corresponding coefficients values in this particular row, that is the objective function row, then you can see that all the values are positive. There is not a single value which is negative. So this shows that this is our optimal table, and we can find out the optimal solution from this particular table. Please remember again that we are working for the maximization problem, and for the maximization problem all the coefficient values of objective function must be positive. So in this particular case again it has become positive. So what will be our optimal solution? We will see the corresponding values of x1 against that right hand side column, that is x1 is equal to 3. Again the value of x2 in this corresponding right hand side column is 2. So we will get the values of x1 equal to 3 and value of x2 is equal to 2. As you already know that in these types of problems we actually find out our decision variable values, and from this table we can again calculate the decision variable values, which are the corresponding right hand values against the two variables, that is x1 is equal to 3 and x2 is equal to 2. Now so let me write the objective function here again, that is f is equal to 5x1 plus 4x2. This was our basic objective function. If we put the value of x1 is equal to 3 and x2 is equal to 2 in this objective function, we will get 5 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 2. This will be equal to 15 plus 8 equal to 23. Now class, this is our maximum value of f. So if the value of x1 is equal to 3 and value of x2 is equal to 2, we will be able to maximize our objective function, and the value of the objective function will be equal to 23. So class, I introduce you the simplex method of linear programming problems. I just solved a very simple example, and step by step I told you the different way that how we can formulate the different tables, then how we can find out the different pivot row and pivot column, and then pivot number, how we can replace the different rows in the different tables, and finally after going through this particular procedure we can maximize our objective function. So class, it is very important to have a sort of practice for this particular question, and in the incoming lecture and the next coming lecture we will again discuss the formal steps of simplex method, and we will also discuss some other cases of maximization, minimization, and some other methods involved in that simplex procedure of linear programming method. And okay class, good luck and stay blessed. Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.